Welcome back to Ham Radio Live, show about radio for people who love radio. Today is a Saturday. It's Saturday, May 14th, 2022, and we're going to go into the park. Yep, Saturday in the park with Vance Martin, November 3, Victor Echo Mike. We're talking parks on the air today. Welcome back. It's Ham Radio Live. One of their biggest hits, Chicago, Saturday in the Park. And what a perfect song to play for a guy that knows all about parks on the air. Vance Martin live, taking your question just a moment from around the world. Away we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Shack in Oregon. My name's Larry. My call sign in amateur radio is Kilo 7 Hotel November. Welcome back to Ham Radio Live. It's good to have you. Today is the 14th day of May 2022, and we're going to talk about parks on the air today. Not maybe in a way that you're used to. We're going to talk about statistics. How many people are working them? How many parks are being activated? This is going to be such a fascinating show, and I'm very grateful to Vance Martin for coming today. It's just such a treat to have someone so special come on the program. So I hope you learned some stuff about parks on the air. Please put your questions in the comment section below and we'll add them to the show. We'd like to help you get your amateur radio license. That's the main purpose of this channel. Contact a big club. They'll help you find a small club near you. Find the Amateur Radio League that helps us here in the United States. The American Radio Relay League can be found at www.arrl.org. Hit the contact us bar, let them know where you're located and that you'd like to get your ham license. They're going to send you an amateur radio club that's close to you. Then contact that club and they'll help you get licensed and on the air. www.arrl.org. We are on WRMI shortwave all over the world on Thursdays and Fridays. CQ Calling is the name of the show. It's powered by ICOM. ICOM for the love of ham radio. If you're here from that show, welcome. We do have an email as well, cqhamradiolive@gmail.com. We get together on Discord as well. I think we're the coolest Discord channels all over the world. Find us at ham-radio-live. Also a reminder, next weekend, Charlie, November Juliet 7 Victor from Red Summit RF is going to be joining us from the biggest ham fair in the world. That's right. Going to be at Hamvention. He'll join us Saturday, May 21st at 2130 UTC. Please join us for Live Charlie. Yep, from Xenia, Ohio, from Hamvention. We're going to talk about his experience and all about Hamvention, so please join us. All right, let's get a hold of what this guy's all about. This is going to be fun. Vance Martin's call sign, November 3, Victor Echo Mike, has done YouTube videos for years talking parks on the air. If you've never seen one, here's what it looks like.
And now for our monthly stats update. As we mentioned during our news item, September was the biggest month ever for Parks on the Air. During the month, there were over 250,000 contacts made by about 1,500 activators. These activators put nearly 3,500 parks on the air from 27 different DX entities. The top activators for the month were K4NYM with 3,378 QSOs, and KU8T, who activated 61 different parks. The top hunter for the month was KZ4KX with 1,270 QSOs while hunting 943 different parks. In our POTA DX corner, Japan was the most active entity outside of North America with 3,779 QSOs being made in September. Not to be outdone, however, we had quite a bit of activity from Canada, Alaska, Puerto Rico, England, Wales, France, and many other entities. The top DX activators outside of North America for the month were MW0GWG with 978 QSOs and JF7RJM, who activated 30 parks. This concludes our September 2021 Parks on the Air update. As always, the team at Parks...
Isn't that cool? Yep, that's what he does. And what I love about him, is he's really brilliant. I mean, this guy has a mind of an engineer. He's phenomenal. We're going to meet him now. Vance Martin, November 3, Victor Echo Mike, live and in color. There he is. How are you, Vance?
Hey, I'm doing well. Glad to be here. Glad you reached out for the invite. It's always fun to come on and talk about Parks on the Air with everybody.
Well, we're grateful to have you. I want to personally thank, there's 4 continents here already. So there's a lot of people here. Roger McKeon, welcome you. And Molly, thank you for being here. It's an honor to have you. Paul, and by the way, sorry, Tom in Bahrain, by way of UK. He's in the UK now. So Tom, welcome. Winan is here all the way from Namibia. Can you believe that? All the way in Africa. So, yep, there you go, Winan. Little Toto, Africa for you. Dirk is here from the beautiful state of Wisconsin. We've got 2 legs of Coffee and Ham Radio here, and I'm honored about that. The Smokin' Ape is here. It's good to see you. And if you look through all these things, Martin is here from Holland. Where's Chuck? I'm going to find Chuck here because Chuck is here as well, and I don't want to miss him. Here he is, Chuck. Kilo 6, Union Sierra Yankee. 2 of the good guys from Coffee and Ham Radio. Thanks for being here, guys. And the rest of you from Portland, Oregon, all the way to, look at this, Andy in Poland, assisting people coming in from Ukraine. Andy, thank you. Please be safe. We're glad you're here. Vance, how long have you been doing Parks on the Air research?
Parks on the Air specifically, probably since right around, I would say 2016, 2017, Parks on the Air kind of picked up at the end of the ARRL had done their National Parks on the Air event, and Parks on the Air kind of grew out of that. So pretty much right since day one when Parks on the Air formed as an entity, I've been involved.
That's fantastic. That really is. That is. I want to welcome Chris from the UK. Chris, it's always a pleasure to see you. 2 Echo Zero Union Kilo Hotel. He was on last weekend with us. Thank you for coming. Jaw in occupied Illinois. Well, deoccupy it and just go someplace else. You could, I guess. I don't know. I like Illinois. What? Let me ask you a question. I've done some research on this before the show because I wanted to at least have some sort of idea about Parks on the Air. There's over 6,600 state parks in the U.S. Are these parks, any of them, able to be activated? Is that the way it works?
I would say practically any of the state parks in the U.S. can be activated. So essentially the parks that can get activated are any of the parks that are on our designated list. Mm-hmm. And for a park to be eligible to get added to the list, it just has to be either a state or federally owned and operated park. So all state parks are eligible to be parks. All national parks are eligible to be parks. There's probably some here and there we're missing, but we have individual folks who volunteer in various states. So if there's a state or federal park near you that's not on the list, you can reach out to those folks and get them added. But if it's a state park, it's probably on the list.
Wow, that's phenomenal. And folks, just so you understand, here in the States, the national park system encompasses 423 national parks. National parks, can someone just go to, like, say, for example, Yellowstone and activate the park there?
Yep, you can pretty much roll into just about any national park. For the most part, there's not a lot of special consideration needed other than whatever normal rules are for entry into the park. Like Yellowstone gets very busy and they only let a certain number of people in every day. But sure, if you can get in and find a place to set up and activate that's within the rules of the park, you're generally good. There are some parks that have specific rules about types of activities that are permitted just because of the sensitivity or the nature of the park. So we do recommend to folks that, hey, go to the park's website and look at the park's rules before you head there to activate. But very few parks have rules that are restrictive to the activities that we do as part of an activation.
I want to thank Dirk, Whiskey 9 Romeo Delta Yankee out of Wisconsin, putting Vance's YouTube channel on the page there. Please, folks, that's a good link there. Make sure you subscribe to his channel. What he does, there's a lot of work. And by the way, Charlie, Red Summit RF, November Juliet 7 Victor, He's the one I told you about before we started as being probably, he might be interested in having you on his channel too, because he's really good. He not only does soda, but also a lot of POTA work too. I remember one that he did recently, Vance, where, he had to get permission. He checked with the park. He made sure that it was okay to set up. They said, okay, set up at the end of the parking lot, away from everybody else, and you should be fine. And the guy just worked as much as he could in the shade. So, it's good to get permission. That's a good idea. So, and Charlie, thank you for being here as well. How long have you been a licensed amateur, my friend?
Yeah, so I got my license in April of 2014. So I guess I just passed the 8-year mark. So I'm fairly new as far as a lot of ham radio operators go. But I figure once I hit the 10-year mark, then I'm no longer a new ham. But
oh no,
at
what?
8 years, I'm still new, I guess.
Vance, for what you do and what I think what you do is far beyond your years of experience. I mean that seriously. I mean what you do is phenomenal. Give us some recent statistics on Parks on the Air, if you have it, about what's going on in Parks on the Air, because we do have people here that are in the chat that do Parks on the Air. And by the way, please remember, if you have a question for Vance, please put it in the comments section. I'll add it to the show.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, as far as statistics go, the things that really blow my mind more than any other statistic has just been the growth. So if you look back 2016, 2017, there was a couple people on the air on any given day. And since then, it has just phenomenally gotten bigger. We're at the point now where in any given month, we're between 300,000 and 500,000 QSOs getting made every month. On any given day, there's, 200 or 300 unique activations happening. So you can pretty much make a park contact anytime, any day, any place. We're 6.6 million contacts have been made for Parks on the Air. So we will probably within the next month and a half or 2 months cross the 7 million mark. And the thing that I'm looking forward to see if we break this year, the threshold that we haven't broken yet, as far as a kind of a fun statistic, is the number of QSOs in a single day. So 500,000 QSOs in a single day is a threshold we haven't broken yet.
Really?
But we've gotten very close. And I suspect that during our summer Support Your Parks event, there's probably a pretty good chance that we will break that 500,000 QSOs in a single day threshold. So that's the thing that I'm really watching to see when that happens. And I'll have to have some sort of mini celebration when it does.
Man, think about that number. I mean, that's a huge amount when you think about it. And that's okay. And when you show statistics a lot, you show like which country is doing the most. And typically it's the United States. What other countries are really into Parks on the Air, Vance?
Yeah, so when we jump into DX, the DX countries that have traditionally been the most active, and I tend to look at them by regions because we're starting to do some certificates and awards by region. Mm-hmm. So in Region 1, which is essentially Europe and Africa,
Middle East.
England has traditionally been the most active in Region 1. But more recently, Spain has really started to have a lot of POTA activity. So Spain is starting to give England kind of a run for their money in Region 1. Mm-hmm. And then in Region 2, outside of the U.S., Canada is obviously the one that's the most popular. Mm-hmm. But outside of the U.S. and Canada, the folks in the Caribbean have been really active in Parks on the Air, which is fun to see. So we have a lot of folks participating from Puerto Rico and places like that is always fun. Whenever I contact them, I just picture sitting on a beach in the sun and think how nice that must be.
No kidding.
And then in Region 3, Japan is, kind of the superstars in Region 3. They're out all the time and and very active. So,
it's interesting because for Parks on the Air, there's parks in Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, Samoa, Guam. I mean, there's places you can go all over the world. And this is interesting. This is from Namibia. The person's name here is Wine and Walmerans. And he says, I'm still busy with my parks. There you go. So someone maybe in Namibia. Can you imagine, some African, parks being opened up? That would be phenomenal. It really would. Where do you come up with all of your statistics? I've got to ask that because it's just brilliant how you do this.
Yeah. So the part of the secret there is statistics is actually also my day job. So for
Oh,
a living,
perfect.
for a living, I get paid to now my day job. It's all like business stuff. So like fancy ways to count money, basically.
There you go.
So when I do it for parks, it's a lot more fun because I get to do fun statistics. But basically, all of the statistics and data that I share when we do the updates and things like that literally just come all right out of the QSO database where everybody gets their logs submitted to.
Mhm.
We're in the AWS environment. AWS has a data analytics software package called QuickSight. So I use QuickSight to basically build myself the dashboards and pull the statistics together and write the very basic code to do some of the fancy stuff. So I basically have a whole kind of swath of little dashboards at my fingertips that I can real quickly click back and forth between to see stats and things like that.
Isn't that
And there's less
fantastic?
exciting stuff that it does too involved with administrative running the program.
That's
But
cool.
the fun part is the QSO stats.
Yeah, that is, I would think that'd be really interesting to see. Is there a certain time of year, or does it, because, there's winter and spring, summer, fall, but it's different because you've got more activations maybe in the southern hemisphere during the winter in the northern hemisphere. Do you see a big switch during the change in seasons?
It actually doesn't change that much.
Really?
That's what's wild. I always assumed that summer would always be busier because, most of the activities in the northern hemisphere. So our summertime here is when it's warmer. But people just really like getting out in the parks, and the cold weather doesn't seem to stop them. So the only variation really just seems to be time of day more than it does like specific seasons or weeks or months.
Fantastic.
And part of that too is because of the rapid growth we've had.
Mhm.
It seems like every month is busier than the month before. So at some point, I'm sure we'll level out a little bit, and then you'll see more seasonal cycles. But yeah, right now it's all year round.
Wow.
All day
Wow.
long, pretty much.
That's fantastic. We have a gentleman, actually, Charlie here, November Juliet 7 Victor does a lot of this. And also Mike, Kilo Golf 2, Mike does it as well from Jacksonville. He's always seeming to activate another park. And speaking of activation, Andy New, Mike 7 Charlie Union November from Bristol, UK, asks you, what exactly constitutes an activation?
Sure. So, since I'm a data nerd, when we talk about an activation, we're going to talk about uniqueness. So what are like what's the unique combination of things that makes up an activation? So an activation is basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different things that make an activation unique. So, the call sign that you contact, or it make a QSO unique. The call sign you contact, the band, the mode, the UTC day, the park, and their location. And by location, I mean state, province, prefecture, whatever that unit of government is in your country.
Okay.
So those things make a unique QSO. And if you have 10 of those unique QSOs in one UTC day, that makes a unique activation.
Well, there you go.
So-
There you go. Now, where would someone find the park? Because there's park designation codes, right? So where would you
Yep.
find that?
Yeah, the easiest thing to do is just go to POTA.app, and on the left-hand menu, there's one of the little standard hamburger menus. You hit the menu, you go to Park List, and we actually just redesigned that Park List interface. So it works now kind of like a folder structure where you can break out. So you can pick your country, and then you'll see like your states. If you're in the U.S., you pick your state, and then you'll see all of the parks for your state with their numbers, and then for each park there's a link to a detail page that has some more specific detailed information about the park, plus a map for where the park is located and things like that.
Wow. So POTA.app, and that gives you worldwide park lists, huh?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, it gives you the whole shebang.
That's fantastic, Vance. That really is. Have another question, and the questions are coming in, which is great. So I'm grateful that you all are here today. Thank you all for coming. This is really a special show to have Vance. At least for me it is, because I think it's something we talk about, but we don't really know enough about. Steve from the UK, Mike 7 India Whiskey Hotel, says, I'm not familiar with POTA. For those having a QSO with a park on the air station, should you submit a log like in a contest to help validate activation? Great question, Steve.
Yep. So in that case, we would call you the hunter because you're at home and you've contacted somebody out in a park, and hunters do not need to submit logs. POTA is really the root of POTA is it's a fun activity to encourage people to get out into the parks.
Hmm.
So you only have to submit logs to the POTA system if you're doing an activation. So it's somewhat of an honor system in that way. But yeah, if you're just sitting at home hunting parks, you basically don't have to lift a finger other than the one that pushes down the PTT button or hits the key.
That's, you know what, that's great. That really is, because this is, you're right. I love what you said, Vance, which I think is so important. This is supposed to be something fun.
Yep.
And if it becomes really a tangled mess of, bureaucracy of getting, okay, got to confirm, that's tough. But, by just letting, someone go out to a park, try and make 10 cues or more and be able to leave, that's a fun day for them. And they get the chance to do it. Thank you for sharing that. That's really cool.
Yep.
Aaron Lutz, welcome. Victor Echo 5, Echo Mike Lima. It's good to have you, my friend. Martin from Holland, Pop Echo 9 Tango Indy Golf. You can't by experience persevere in things you like. That's a great comment. That really is. Colin from the UK, Mike 0 Oscar Papa X-Ray. POTA is great, but just not popular here in the UK. If you want to work a lot of stations, you need to hit North America for your QSOs. Do you find that to be pretty accurate, or are there quite a few people in the UK that are doing Parks on the Air?
Yeah, so I would say he's probably not incorrect in that most of the activity is in North America right now. So US and Canada is where most of the activity is. The good news is that the UK has been getting more and more active. So I wouldn't say there's somebody activating in the UK every day, but I would say every week there are, a handful of people that get out and do some activations in the UK. So I think it's just growth. And what I always tell folks is if there's not enough stations activating on the air, go out to a park and do one yourself.
Yes, sir. I just thinking the same thing. Same thing. Yeah. I mean, and have you seen growth in the UK over the last few years? Good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The UK was actually one of the first countries outside of the US that we loaded into the system.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until the last couple months that the growth there really started to pick up. And it actually grew enough that I think it was 2 or 3 months ago when I did the monthly update. For the first time, we had a UK station actually top the number of QSOs for an activator list. So the growth is there in the UK. It's just a little behind where the U.S. was, but it'll get there for sure.
That's really cool. Welcome, Ian Justice from Holland, Papa Alpha Zero Romeo November Hotel. Ian, always great to see you. I hope you're having a very good evening there in Holland. Aaron Lutz said, Parks on the Air is a huge thing here in Canada. Are you finding quite a bit of people in Canada doing that?
Oh yeah, Canada is. Yeah, I mean, just like the U.S., I would say that there's probably somebody on in Canada every single day. The cold weather doesn't seem to slow them down either. There's a couple folks that have sent me pictures because I like to include pictures in the monthly updates that I do, cool. And I have pictures of folks in Canada sitting at picnic benches with like snow and frozen lakes behind them that like bundled up doing their activation, and like I'm amazed by those folks. It's incredible.
Isn't that something? Man, I think of myself if I would do that, and it's like you've got to be very dedicated and it's got to be fun. That's something that's, fun for them. That's good. I want to welcome a dear friend. He's helping me to actually learn Morse code. And I appreciate that because I would like to learn. And Jim, I did get your email, Whiskey 6 Julia, and your Mike. I will download that and do my best to be a good student for you. Hopefully, There you go. Winan from Namibia. Need help with getting my parks to you. I had a little problem in my Parks on the Air listing to get it going. My fault. I need to figure it out, he said, basically. So, again, that link that what Vance brought us here in terms of if you want to find a list for a park, say a park on the air, and you're not sure, what park you might be activating so you have the right information. Remember, they've got a great app for that. It's POTA.app for parks on the air worldwide. You can find your park on the air anywhere. So that's good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for the folks who are in countries that want to get parks added or are working on getting parks added, you can just shoot an email to help@parksontheair.com. We've set up an interface now that we can give designated people access to start entering their country's parks into the system. So if somebody's in the middle of that exercise, or if they're in a country that doesn't have any parks yet and you want to be the one to take on the challenge, just let us know and we'll get you set up.
And think about the pileup that could create.
Yeah.
Jeez, man. Jerry Jones, I need Montana to reach all 50 states. I should look for a POTA for the 50th state. Wouldn't that be cool, Jerry? You could do that. That would help him out, at the park, and you out to get your work to all states. It's awesome. Ron Walensky, good afternoon, friend. November 8, Whiskey Charlie Romeo. He says, Steve, good question. How long does Hunters work? I'm registered on the POTA page, and I found that I have Hunters Award. How does all that work?
Yeah, so because everything is driven off of the activity of the activators, when somebody does an activation and submits a log, we have all of those QSO records in our database. So as a hunter, if you've I'll say never participated in the past, if you've never registered on the website in the past, but you contacted some parks here and there just as you're tuning around the bands, we actually probably have a record of those contacts you made because the activators submit their logs. So when someone registers as a hunter for the first time, the system will actually go back through and find all of the hunter QSOs that you made.
Really?
So it's not uncommon for somebody to register as a hunter and then 48 hours later see they already have some awards in their profile because of contacts that they made before they ever registered.
Oh,
So,
I like that. I like that. Because we've all heard it. We've all made a call to, however many there are. But we've tried to work them because we know it means a lot to them. That is really cool that you guys do that. That really is.
Yep.
And Ron, congratulations. Sounds like you got yourself a nice award waiting for you, buddy. That's pretty sweet. Here's one of our POTA guys. Mike, Kilo Golf 2 Mike says, listening while driving to South Carolina. Going to do some POTA there tomorrow. Mike, every day, this guy, no kidding. I'm not kidding. He lives in the Jacksonville area, right? And he goes to different parks all over North Florida to activate different parks. And I'm sure he goes to South Georgia to do the same thing because he's right close to the border. This guy's really into it. So, Mike, I'm so glad you're here today. I thought of you when this show came up. I really did. Andy New, Mike 7, Charlie, November, Bristol, UK. Question. I have an open space near me which is recognized as a wildlife reserve. Is that likely to count as a park on the air?
You would have to reach out to the person that is the park coordinator for your country, and those are listed so we have an informational website which gives like administrative information. That's parksontheair.com. So if you go to parksontheair.com, you can see who the mapping coordinator for your country is, and that would be the person to reach out to ask that question because by country, those rules vary. So wildlife protected areas are usually like, so in the UK, they're usually like county owned and run or federally owned and run, and are probably eligible. But some of those also have no public access. So if there's no public access, it probably wouldn't get added. So it depends on a lot of details, but your mapping coordinator for your country would be the person who would be able to get into the nitty gritty and answer the detailed question.
And I put the link down there. It's parksontheair.com for you, Andy. I hope that helps you out. Dirk, you are so good. And Dirk is one of our moderators here. And what Dirk does is he will put down the link over and over again during the show for your YouTube channel. Dirk, right on top of it. Thanks for doing that, bud. Because we're all about helping other people on YouTube, too. I mean, this show, I don't think of people that do YouTube as competitors. I think we're all colleagues because we're all trying to do the same thing. We're all trying to advance some part of amateur radio. That's so important right now. Yep. Jerry Jones, good comment, says, I want to create a POTA. Going to start down the street from my house at Walt Disney World. Theme parks on the air. There you go. A new one. Oh man! And then where does it end from there? Right? I'm at Disney World. I'm right now in Epcot. Now I'm in the Magic Kingdom. I'm at Tomorrowland. Tomorrowland is a new designator. Oh my gosh! Can you imagine? Chris, thank you for the link. I've subscribed. Everybody else should do the same to hit the subscribe button to Vance's channel. Totally agree with that. And Dirk, thanks for the better link to the Parks on the Air app. That's well done. Tom from the UK. See, I got it right, Tom. Can someone register and activate as visitor in another country? For example, like maybe Lima Zulu, Alpha Delta 1 or whatever.
Yeah, so basically the simple answer is it depends on what your license permits you to do. So for the UK, you can come to the US and activate because we have, some
The SEPT
SEPT
agreement.
agreements.
Yep.
Same thing between the US and Canada. You can pretty much travel back and forth and freely activate. So if your license permits you to operate in that country, the quick answer is yeah, you can do that. You have to do whatever special call sign addendum you have to do. So if I go to Canada, I have to say N3VEM stroke VE3.
Yes.
And really the catch is go to POTA.app, make sure you add that variant of your call sign in your profile. So in my profile, I have N3VEM and I also have N3VEM stroke VE3. That way, any activations I do in Canada, the system will know to count those against my profile also. So
that's cool.
Whatever you have to do to be legal in that country, just make sure you have it in your profile.
There you go. Thanks, Vance. Andy, this is great. I activate for hurricanes. Does that count? No. That would be, and Jerry right away, this is how this group thinks, which is funny. HOTA. He's got HOTA, HOTA, hurricanes on the air. Great. No! Well done. Wow. Winan from Namibia says, there is in South Africa HOTA, but it means something else. Probably. There you go.
I was going to say, maybe we shouldn't ask.
Yeah. He says, like old buildings or bridges, can't remember of the heritage on the air. So, yeah, that's funny, you guys. Appreciate it. And, Charlie, which is a good comment, November Juliet 7 Victor from Arizona. I'm excited about the automatic upload. That's pretty cool. How long has that been there for you, Vance?
Yeah, so we actually just announced this. Well, we didn't even really announce it. We gave a sneak preview of it this past week. So it's been getting talked about for a long time. We gave a sneak preview of it this past week. We're starting some very small piloting within the next couple weeks. And then that's going to step up to, and our initial piloting is essentially going to be the call area managers that do the uploading now. We're turning it on for them first. So they'll start uploading everybody's logs that come in with the new system. They'll do that for a few days. Then we're expanding to what we're calling like a private beta test, which is a group of people that we're reaching out to say, hey, we'd like you to join the beta to use the self-uploader. Then we'll do a larger, more public beta before finally launching it live to the public. So all of that will basically happen probably over the next couple months, with the first groups starting within the next week or two. So.
That's great. We're live with Vance Martin, November 3, Victor Echo Mike, talking some parks on the air. Please post your questions in the comments section, and we'll make it part of the show. Andy New, Mike 7, Charlie Union November. Question, when did Parks on the Air start, and what was the thinking behind the idea? Andy, that's a great question.
Yeah, so like all awesome things, it wasn't our idea.
There you go. There you go. He's honest. I love that.
So basically, ARRL did an event in 2016 that was kind of the brainchild of Sean Kutzko and Norm. I wish I could remember his name.
Love Sean. Love Sean. We've had him on the channel before.
Yeah. Sean's awesome. So
he's a satellite hunter too. The guy really does satellites.
Yeah,
Man.
He's a huge satellite guy.
Yeah.
But the original ARRL National Parks on the Air was a 1-year long special activity that was basically Sean's brainchild. And as that was winding down, Jason Johnston, our main administrator, basically was like, he reached out to Sean and said, hey, this is awesome. Is there any chance you guys are going to like make this into a permanent thing? And they basically said, no, we don't really have like the budget or the resources for it. And so at that point, Jason said, well, I'm going to see if I can find some volunteers to get something together and see if we can't make a similar program that is essentially everlasting. And that's how it got started. So as NPOTA winded down, we ramped up and here we are.
And that was how it all began. Wow.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. If you see Sean, tell him hi for me, will you?
Of course.
I love Sean. He's a great, great guy. Gosh, to watch him work satellites, he's like a Picasso with that antenna.
Yes.
Winan from Namibia, is there an easier way without using Excel to get my parks listed?
Yes. So we have now built an interface for country administrators. So essentially, for people that get tagged as a country administrator, and reach out to us at help@parksontheair.com, and we'll get stuff set up. But when we give you access as a country administrator, you actually get a access to a part of the website that essentially lets you add and edit parks for your country. So.
That's fantastic. That's good. Andy, I hope that answered your question, and we appreciate it very much. And Wyden, good questions. Keep them up, guys. Keep the questions coming. Red Summit RF downside is if the activator doesn't upload, not in there. Yeah, that would be tough. Jerry Jones, I started playing with FT8. Why are there so many people using it that don't confirm? Seems pointless. Well, can be, I suppose. Patty Roach, welcome to Echo Zero, Tango Whiskey Delta. Hello to you and a very, very good day. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for coming today on this beautiful Saturday. BMC Tackle, that's Lewis in Heber City, Utah. Kilo 7 Alpha Alpha Golf. He says, love Parks on the Air. Can't wait to get started. I'm surrounded by parks. I'm so close to the parks, I'm tempted to activate my house. How about that? Oh boy!
Yeah, we do have some of our very active activators are folks who live very close to parks. There's one of the well-known call signs who literally can put his stuff in his wagon and walk off the back of his property, and he's in a park. So he can basically do activations by traveling like 50 feet.
That's phenomenal. And and he lives in Utah, and Utah has the most national parks in it, which is phenomenal. 5 national parks. And they are beautiful, that's for sure. Dirk, thanks for the link as well to Parks on the Air. That's pretty good. Thanks for doing that, buddy. Appreciate it. There's a good group in here today. Quite a few people from all over the world joined. Let me ask you this, Vance. What in the very beginning, what got you interested in Parks on the Air? I mean, there's so many things in amateur radio, and some guy picks Parks on the Air. And by the way, he's also a statistician, and he knows how to put stuff together. Man, what got you started?
Yeah, so it was really, I would say, almost by accident. So the company that I work for now, before I got involved in the stats work and stuff that I do, I was actually in the field. I was a field supervisor, so I was running around to job sites, all over the Mid-Atlantic region where I lived. And then I started traveling further and visiting job sites further around the country. And that was in 2016 when National Parks in the Air was going on. So I initially got my license because I was traveling a lot. I threw a CB in my work truck, and that, only held my attention for so long because it was usually dead air unless there was an accident, and then it was just people shouting at each other. So I kind of was like, well, let me investigate like the ham radio thing, because I knew about it, from conversations with my dad had ham license when he was a teenager, but he had let it expire, and I had just kind of heard about it through the grapevine. So when I was doing all that traveling for work, I thought, well, let me get my license. So in 2014, I got the license. Then I started doing all this travel for work. I had the radio already. ARRL announced that they were going to be doing this event. I was like, well, that's awesome. That gives me something to do while I'm traveling for work. So I was going to job sites all over the country, doing activations all over the country. And that's how I got involved as a participant in that event. And then the company I work for was paying for my information systems degree. So I was winding up my information systems degree right as that event was ending. And Jason was looking to get POTA started. And he basically reached out and said, like, hey, is there anybody who knows how to do these things that is willing to help out? And I naively waved my hand, and
now you're hooked, man. Now you're the guy. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh boy, this is great, and this is kind of funny. Some stuff that's coming in here. Robert Varner, he's got a great sense of humor. I'm going to start backyards on the air. So that'll be BOTA. Okay.
There you go.
That's a good idea.
And somebody had talked about, somebody jokes about doing things on the air by making up an arbitrary numbering system so that you can choose anything you want to activate and give it a number.
Oh my gosh. You gotta be kidding me. Oh geez. Winan from Namibia, he says, I live just almost around the corner of Park Etosha. I bet it's beautiful. Winan, if you have a photo of that, send it to me. Love to see it. Vance, do you have a favorite radio and antenna setup you like to use when you do POTA?
Yeah, so for me personally, I s- when I first got my license and was traveling, I basically got portable HF gear because that was going to be my use case. So I had an 857D
Hmm.
installed in my work vehicle, and that's the radio that I've used for portable ever since. And if I was going places where I was driving, I just had a ham stick mounted right on the truck. But then as I started changing how I activated, my favorite way to activate if I'm driving and can have all my gear is basically that same radio, which I now have built into a real small Go box. It's,
Hmm.
12 inches tall, 9 inches wide, and has the radio and a couple other things in it.
Perfect.
So I sit that Go box on a picnic table. I use a fiberglass mast, and then my favorite antenna is just essentially like a fan dipole, but
Hmm.
it's only two elements. So it's got 40 and 20, and I basically just run them off 90 degrees to each other. So I run the mast up, the two elements for the two antennas come down, in an inverted V, so they act kind of as both the guys and the antenna elements. Um, and that's how I prefer to do activations. When I was flying a lot, I often used a buddy pole just because the buddy pole was easier to fly with than a big giant fiberglass mast.
I bet. Yeah, absolutely. Want to welcome Arsen from Russia, Union Delta 6 X-ray. It's an honor to have you here, Arsen. Thank you for coming. It's good to see you. Vance, this is kind of a weird question, and I don't mean it to be, but just it's kind of like this is such a fascinating subject to me. It really would. What advice would you give to someone who might want to start to do parks on the air? Like to start out with, and maybe they don't have, a lot of knowledge in terms of what to be careful not to do. Make some good choices. What would you give them?
Yeah, so I have sort of a two-stage answer when people ask me about that.
Hmm.
The first thing I tell people is, if at all possible, just go with somebody else. Find somebody in your area that does Parks on the Air activations, tag along with them, watch them do it. They'll probably hand you the mic and let you make enough QSOs to get your first activation under your belt using their gear that they already set up. So
Yep.
that's the easiest way.
Yep.
The second easiest way, if you don't have somebody you can do that with, or if you're not comfortable doing that, what I tell people is just to keep it as simple as possible. Use whatever gear you have. Find a park that has a pavilion where there's AC power so you can just plug in without having to worry about the complexities of batteries and solar and all that kind
Good
of
point.
stuff.
Good
Find
point.
a pavilion with power, take your radio from home, plug it in, and just take a basic wire dipole, string it up between trees if you're allowed to do that in the park, or stick it up as an inverted V on a fiberglass mast and set up that way. So really the name of the game is to just keep it as simple as possible when you're starting out.
And say those folks, and thank you, Vance. Say those folks maybe don't know who locally might be doing parks on the air. Is the POTA app a good way to find someone local?
Yeah, and a real good way to do that is go to POTA.app, go to the maps section, find the park that's closest to you, click on that park so you can see the details, see who the person is at the top of the list that activates that park the most often. They probably live pretty close to that park too, and just reach out to them and say, "Hey, do you mind if I tag along?" That's probably a great way to do it.
That's great. That's a good tip. Thank you for that. Also, some very special folks just came in. Want to say hello to them. Aim and Azar, welcome. November 9th, Sierra Echo Sierra. Scruffy, welcome back from Australia, mate. Good to see you. It's Victor Kilo 5, Sugar Coated Radio. Yep. Yep. He's good. He's a good man, too. He really is. Also, would like to welcome Richard Westman. Hello, Richard. It's nice to meet you. Coming from Sweden. Sierra Mike 6, Union Juliet. It's nice to meet you, Richard. Thank you for coming here today to the show. Appreciate that. And Dirk, again, thanks for putting the park on the air. The Vance's channel on. That's very nice.
And if you want to throw the Parks on the Air YouTube on there too, you can. That one's probably more exciting than mine.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. Well, yeah, do me a favor. If you've got that, let us know what it is. We've got some pretty smart guys here listening, and they'll probably be able to put it on the screen. What would that one be? What's the link?
I don't know offhand, but I think it does have a custom URL. So it's whatever the YouTube URL
Okay.
/ Parks on the Air.
Gotcha.
So.
Okay. No worries. No worries. What statistics grabbed your attention most since you've done Parks on the Air?
Yeah, the thing that, well, the growth, like I talked about earlier, is kind of the most mind blowing. But the thing that I always find the most interesting to watch is a combination of two. I like to see activity by time of day because I'm very curious to see the, kind of the up and down cycle within the day.
Hmm.
And then also the most active bands. So within a day, the times go kind of as you would expect for North America, just because that's where a lot of the activity is. So, basically midday is the busiest, the middle of the night is the lowest. But it's interesting to see those valleys starting to grow a little bit as more and more DX starts to come on board.
Hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see if that one kind of levels out a little bit. And then the bands has been incredibly fascinating to watch over the last several months because 20 and 40 are the most
10
popular
meters has
bands,
been lighting up.
obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, and 40 has been, you know, up until about, I don't know, 6, 7 months ago, 40 meters was the most active band for
Sure.
POTA. And I told everybody, hey, if you're going out for the first time ever, just take one 40-meter antenna.
Hmm.
That's all you're going to need. But boy, as the solar cycle has started to shift and 20 has started taking up,
Oh,
20
yeah.
has all of a sudden just like rocketed past 40 meters as far
Really?
as the amount of activity.
That's
So
fantastic.
if you ask me the same question today, if you can only take one antenna, take a 20-meter antenna.
There you
So,
go. That's good to
yep.
know. And that's also something we talk about here during the weather segment. 20's usually been very, very good. A lot of DX right now on 20 meters. Winan, I asked about an email for you. Winan, if you just go to QRZ and search his call sign, November 3, Victor Echo Mike, that will pop up. And my
Yep. Yeah.
email does the same thing. So just
Yeah.
find it on
Yeah. I'm,
QRZ.
I'm good there. And I'm also good at N3VEM at parksontheair.com. So
There you
either
go.
QRZ or that one will get to me.
So there you go. N3V, that's November 3, Victor Echo Mike at parksontheair.com. And
Yep.
you'll get a hold of him. That's a good way to do it. Robert Varner, great question. And we had this asked earlier. You taken care of this one. Do you have to get permission from the park to transmit? And the answer is sometimes. Not
Yep.
all,
It
sometimes it's
depends.
good. Yeah. Would you go deeper into that just to, because like Charlie, he called the park in Arizona and got, yes,
Yep.
permission. Make sure you're at the end of the parking lot away from all the visitors, but talk about why that might be important, Vance.
Yeah, so really what it boils down to is the national parks and state parks. Parks are founded and formed a number of different ways and have a lot of different considerations. So, unfortunately, what that means is there's not one set of rules that covers all of the parks. Each park has its own rules for, that specific entity. So while most of them don't have any rules that prohibit the activity that we do, some might. So it never hurts to check on the website. But a lot of it is based off of what's at the park. So, some of our national parks are places like, burial grounds for Indigenous Americans. So there's
Hmm.
obviously some cultural and religious sensitivity there that we
Yes,
need to be careful of. So they have
absolutely.
special rules.
Yep.
A lot of our parks are nature focused. And so some parks do have rules about not being allowed to throw ropes in the air because they don't want you to take a fungus on your ropes from one park to another park and spread, tree diseases using your ropes.
Interesting. Yeah,
So
interesting.
so there's rules like that. Um, the park closest to me that has some sensitivity is Flight 97. So the flight that went down in Somerset, Pennsylvania on
Yes.
9/11.
Yes.
That park has some cultural sensitivity.
Certainly
So it,
does.
it really depends on the park and why it's a park as to why there might be different rules. So
Yeah.
safest bet is to always just look on their website and browse through the rules and make sure that you're not doing something that you shouldn't.
Yeah, that's a good point. Want to welcome Mike Zero, X-Ray Charlie Foxtrot. First timer. Ian, welcome to the show. It's nice to have you here this Saturday evening. Thank you for coming. Vance, what's the farthest QSO you've made from a park? I got to ask that.
Yeah,
I'm an
so
HF guy. I got to
probably
ask that.
probably not nearly as impressive as a lot of other folks. I think my furthest as an activator is probably only to Italy, and I'm on the East Coast, so Europe is pretty easy from the East Coast. So Italy is probably my furthest as an activator,
Hmm.
and as a hunter, I don't think I've really gotten much further than probably England. So
That's,
nothing
hey,
nothing
nothing
too
to
wild.
sneeze at. I'm good with that. And think of it this way, Vance, right? Italy is farther east in Europe.
Yep.
It's not closer to you. So there you go.
Yep. Yep.
Arson from Russia, United Delta 6 X-ray. We hope to have a kind of POTA right in the area of Elbrus Mountain, somewhere above 4,000 meters above sea level. Higher will be hard as it requires climbing experience. So they're thinking about 4,000 meters up. That'd be nice to be able to do. He said he'd love to share with you that moment. That's a nice comment, Arson. Thank you for that from Russia. What a nice thing to say. Very, very nice. Also, want to welcome someone close by to you. Kilo Charlie 3 Hotel Romeo Sierra 73 Philadelphia is in the house.
All right.
Welcome,
but if
Philly.
he's from Philadelphia, sorry, I have to say this, dude. It is Sheets, not Wawa. I'm sorry.
And he knows what that means, right? Okay, there
Yeah.
you go. There you go. Okay, that's funny. I have an old buddy who was in radio there for a long time, Harvey Holiday, and he was
Okay.
he was really, I mean, she's on the Philadelphia on the Air Hall of Fame there, so pretty good. Winan from Namibia says farthest from him was Kilo Echo 5 Echo Echo on the Long Path. That's kind of cool. Yeah, it's neat to be able to do that. I get to ask this because you really know Parks on the Air. I mean, if anybody knows it, you do, okay? So do you have a dream park? Like, does Vance have a place in his mind where he goes and he thinks, gosh, that'd be a great place to activate?
I do, and it's not nearly as exotic as a lot of people might think. It's more of like it's my spite park that that I would love to activate, and that's actually probably not terribly far from closer to you than it is to me, Mount Rainier.
Oh,
And
okay.
that is only because when I was doing all those work travels, like I talked about, my work had me in Seattle, and I thought, awesome, I'm going to go activate Mount Rainier. So I drove my car up as high as you can drive, which is up to like maybe 7,000 feet or so is the highest parking area.
Yep.
I was woefully underdressed. So even though I was going to be activating from the
it's
car,
always windy up there. It's always windy, Vance.
just to be outside long enough to set up the antenna, even though I was in the car for activating, I was cold as all hang.
Yeah.
The clamp that like holds the mast up on my buddy pole, one of the clamps broke, so my buddy pole was only able to get like 6 feet off the ground.
Oh, no.
It was way too late at night for the amount of activity on the West Coast, and I went through all that effort and I made one contact. So if you look at POTA.app, if you look at the Mount Rainier Park, I don't know if it's in the list there or not, but you'll find me in there with one contact. So that's the one I want to get back to, but much better prepared so that I can actually have a successful go of it.
Get a second chance. Yeah, it's funny. When I was in Hawaii, and Charlie actually, November Juliet 7 Victor, he activated it. He went up to Haleakala National Park. It's right there. It's a beautiful park. Gosh, it's you drive up to 10,000 feet high. That's how high the top is. You can go to the very top because you're in the tropics. Sometimes they get snow up there. But man, if you're from the beach area, you're down low, along the ocean. It's 85, 88 degrees, beautiful. And if you go up there without a coat and jeans and warm weather, like you're dressing for winter, you're going to freeze because it's so cold up there and windy. So I totally get that. Elevation really has a way of doing crazy things. That's funny. Have Reed here, Alpha Bravo 8, Alpha Sierra. Reed, thanks for being here today. It's great to have you. Good afternoon to you. It says, question, late to the stream. Vance, how close is the ability for activators to upload their own log? Is there a beta version for that yet? Thanks.
Yeah, so and we did touch on it earlier, but the quick summary is we're starting some very small pilots within the next couple weeks, expanding out to full release probably a couple months down the road. So we're basically at the very beginning of starting our pilot testing and beta testing and phasing up through to full release.
That's great. That really is. Do you have any final comments you want to share with folks? Because, I mean, you've done this now for quite a while, and I don't care. You tell me you've been a ham since 2014. I'll tell you I've been a ham since 2019, but I've DX for 50 years. I've been in radio a long time, but with you, you've been statistics. How many hours do you think you have invested in all this?
Oh boy, I could like sort of track it. Based on the company I work for does volunteer stuff, so I submit hours to my company that I volunteer for POTA.
Yeah.
But yeah, since 2016, I couldn't even guess. It's at least 5 or 6 hours every week in just like normal stuff.
Yeah.
But then whenever we have like a big release coming up or early on when we were first releasing a bunch of stuff, there would be some, use a couple vacation days to plow through a bunch of stuff. So it's hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of hours that I've been involved with the program.
Yeah. Well, I was going to tell you, is this your shack you're sitting in right now?
Yep.
Okay.
This
now,
is the shack.
Please notice there's a couple of things that you can see that are very important. Number one, he's got a nice chair, nice microphone. But what he really has is great is he's got a refrigerator to his right side. How about that?
Which is fairly empty right now, just some seltzer water. But usually that's my beer fridge. But
that's awesome, man.
It's empty other than seltzer water for a while.
Vance, that is so cool. That's a great shack. What are the plugs for to the right? That reminds me of being in radio, the old days.
Yeah, so over here, this is actually a patch panel to my antennas.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, my radios and everything are in front of me.
Yep.
They come into the bottom of this patch panel. My antennas come into the top, and then I can just kind of swap stuff around with the
Beautiful.
jumpers there.
Beautiful.
So,
that's the way it used to be in radio too. When we would,
Yep.
You'd bring different inputs into certain areas to make sure that things were working properly. It's very clean, nice, well done, really well done.
Yep.
Vance, what I got to ask you this: what are the current statistics for Parks on the Air? What are you seeing in terms of, who's activating the most? Maybe who's kind of at the the top right now of getting calls. You're so good at 2-minute videos. It's phenomenal how much information you share in 2 minutes. Seriously, give us a current report. Let us know what it's like.
Yeah, I mean, so if we look just kind of like all time overall, a lot of my videos, I focus on like just 1 month at a time. They're kind of like little 1 month vignettes. But all time, the activators that have been the most active are N4CD. So a lot of people know Bob, people who are into county hunting and stuff. He's the one that has traditionally been like the most active overall. He's also, I think, the only person that is within striking distance of activating every state in the U.S.
Really?
So that's a fun one right there. And then the other ones are call signs that people are probably accustomed to hearing pretty often. KU8T, KB3WAV. So Carrie, she's just south of me in Maryland. N4MTE and WT8J kind of round out the top of the list. If we go down just a little bit further, but still in kind of the top, we see W8TAM, which I will call out just because he's another one of the volunteers like me. So W8TAM is our what I would call our architecture guy. So he makes sure all of the AWS and database stuff is basically there and functioning so that we can all write the code to make the magic work. So he's kind of our behind the scenes architecture guru. So those are the activators. The hunters that are at the top of the pile, Whiskey 9 Alpha Victor is the busiest hunter, VE3 LDT up in Canada, KO4 SB, and the next one in the list, number 4, K8HQ, and then NE1D. So we have
thank you.
A couple of common call signs that are really the most active in the top of the list.
And you usually see them every month falling in.
Yep.
What do they get for like getting like number one? Is it monthly or is it yearly? How does that work?
Yeah, so on the monthly updates I do, it's just based on activity for that month, and it's really nothing more than bragging rights. They get to hear me say their call sign while I do those updates.
That's cool. That's cool. And then at the end of the year, is there something else there for the yearly?
We do just like we do the monthly updates. The update that I do in December, I do then also do a summary for the whole year. So there is kind of a final like, hey, this is kind of year in review essentially.
Good. That's
and then
good. Good idea.
the other fun thing, the biggest like, opportunity to win a thing in the summer when we do our summer Support Your Parks event, we combine a plaque event with that. So in the summer, we do give away plaques based on the activity of the 2-day Support Your Park weekend. So that's coming up in July this year. I forget the specific dates. It's the third full weekend in July, though.
Okay, excellent. We have a few more questions for you. Steve from the UK, Mike 7, India Whiskey Hotel. Question, do activators get much interaction from public? Is POTA good to advertise as a hobby?
Yeah, there is a fair amount of interaction. If you follow along in any of like the social media places where people talk about POTA, you'll pretty often see stories where folks are saying, yeah, I was doing an activation and, a family came up and asked questions. It's not uncommon. In fact, just within the last week, I was chasing a station and I didn't get to contact him, but it was one of those where I'm like, no, that's legit. I'm not upset I didn't get to contact him because while he was doing his activation, he said, oh, hey, there's some people that have some questions. So I'm going to go QRT for a little bit.
Perfect.
And, talk to the people that are here about what we're doing. And I was like, that's exactly the right thing to do.
Perfect.
I would rather you go QRT and talk to like people that are interested in ham radio and what you're doing than satisfy us in a pileup.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's field day every day because people come by, they see what you're doing, and they ask questions. What a great way to try and grow the hobby or at least grow the knowledge of the hobby. I think that's fantastic. So, Steve, thanks for the question. It's a good question. Appreciate you asking it. Andy New, what radio does Vance use in his shack?
In my shack, for HF, I have an FTDX 3000 that I use.
Great
and
radio,
VHF, man. And for VHF and UHF, I actually use that same 857D that I use portable. So I have a spot under my desk where the Go Kit actually slides when I'm at home, and then I just pop the head off of it, and I have a spot up on my desk where I mount the head. So when I'm home, here's my VHF, UHF, and then I just pop the face off of it and put it on the Go box and throw it in the car if I'm going out. So.
That is so cool. What a great way to do that. That really is. Thanks for that. What I got to ask this, what antennas do you have?
Yeah, so here at home, again, nothing wildly crazy. I have an 80-meter off-center fed dipole that works on most of the amateur bands with, just the built-in tuner in my radio. And then I have a 20-meter vertical that is actually on top of our chicken coop.
Nice.
So the wire for the run of the chicken coop acts as the ground plane. So I just have a 20-meter vertical that sticks off the top of that.
The chick tenna. We'll call that the chick tenna. How about that?
Well, I pretty often call it the coop tenna when I post pictures of it. I'm like, here's the coop tenna.
The coop tenna. That's great.
And then I have in my attic, I call it like my backup antenna. So I have a fan dipole in the attic that does 40, 20, 15, and 10. And the 40-meter element kind of wraps around on itself.
Yeah,
but it works. It works.
That's it. Yeah, it works. That's good. Lewis.
And then I have the standard. I was just going to say, then I have the standard VHF, UHF kind of verticals for local repeater stuff.
Do you, and it's interesting because on Coffee and Ham Radios earlier today, they were talking about mobile and they talked about ham sticks and so forth. Do you find ham sticks to be very effective for you? Have you found them to be effective in your time using them?
Yeah. So I say the simple answer there is they work good enough.
Okay.
So the benefit you have as an activator is that everybody's trying to contact you. So it might be hard to break into a big pileup if you're using a ham stick.
Yes.
But if you're the one doing the activation, everybody's trying to reach you. So they always worked well enough.
That's a good point. Yeah. And final question comes from Lewis, Heber City, Utah, Kilo 7 Alpha Alpha Golf. Vance, what's the most common antenna system used in POTA? Do you have any ideas? That's hard to say.
Yeah,
maybe.
I don't know offhand, but I know what has been very popular that I've heard a lot of people talking about of late is either linked dipoles or end-fed, end-fed antennas seem to be the two that I hear people talking about the most. And then many different variants of ground ground plane verticals.
That's great. Vance, I want to ask you, you have any final thoughts you'd like to share with people here before we close the show? Do you know what? We've talked for about an hour now. How's that?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I don't have any other final thoughts other than the one that I share pretty often, which is I am just thrilled and delighted that there are so many people out there excited about POTA. When we started, Jason basically said like, "Hey, yeah, if there's a couple hundred of us that like doing this, and we'll contact each other, and it'll be great."
Kind of
And
like a
so,
club. Yeah.
yeah, so just the fact that we're up to we passed the 20,000 registered users some time ago, and the fact that there's that many people just interested in parks and chasing parks just like delights me more than anything else.
And what I love about you is you're a volunteer. You don't get
Yep.
paid for this. I mean,
Yep.
thank you, Vance, for what you do. Seriously, thank you. I'm
You
sincere when I
bet.
say that. Wow. How many, I got to ask this for a final question. How many years you think you got left doing this?
Boy, I don't know. I guess until I get tired of it, and I haven't gotten tired of it yet. So
There you go. Good answer. Good answer. Well, I want to let you know you have been literally with 5 continents today. Want to welcome, we'll just do them kind of as we hear them here. Roger McKeon, who, by the way, was the first one in today in the show. There you go. You get your Roadrunner. Just came late, but we got you, Roger. Good man. Roger and Molly watching from the U.S. Also, Wynan Wolmerantz, who comes all the way from Namibia in Africa. So Africa is here. Yep. That's our second continent. Number 3 is 2 guys right here, Andy Cowley and Tom Bahrain. Not usually there, but no, he's in the UK now. So Andy, 2 Echo Zero, Romeo Echo Echo, and Tom also in the UK. There is continent number 3. I can speak. Learned it last week, by the way, and it was a lot of fun. I've tried to use it more often. It's been great. So then, as we went on through the show, and this has been really cool because people have found you to be a very fascinating guest. You can tell because people are just, they're just involved and they're asking questions, and when people do that, you know that people are listening and they're excited. So you've done a great job with this. You really, truly have. So I want to thank you for your time today doing this because I know you have a life and other things to do. So there we got North America, we've got Africa, there is England, and then we go all the way down as we're still scrolling around. And of course, we also always grateful for Ian and Martin. You guys are both great from Holland. I appreciate you guys coming. Appreciate that very, very much. Always do. Always do. We also had Scruffy, who checked in from Australia, and we're grateful for Scruff. Thanks for being here, my friend. Victor at Kilo 5, Sugar-Coated Radio. That was fun. Appreciate you being here. And we also had, so that's Australia, there's number 4. And number 5 was not to be outdone. We had Russia in the house as well. So we had Asia as well. So you command an audience of 5 continents, my dear friend.
all right, I'm
cool?
flattered.
I think that's pretty awesome. I think you're the first guest live that had 5. So that's pretty cool. It just goes to show you, at least in my opinion, I think what you're doing is really, really special and growing. You know what I mean? It's really cool. And here's a good comment to send you home with. This is from Pennsylvania, your home state. Here we go. Rod Bish from Eastern Pennsylvania. Sorry, West Pennsylvania. I'm sorry, Rod. Whiskey 3, Mike Papa Golf. POTA helped me pass the time during COVID shutdowns. What a great comment. Isn't that great? Yep. So, guys, wherever you may be around the world, thanks for coming. Vance, thank you. I'll be right back with you, okay?
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right. You're welcome. We've been live with Vance Martin, November 3, Victor Echo Mike. We're grateful that he's come, and I want to thank him because he's a volunteer, right? And he also volunteered to come on the show. That's pretty special, I think. We'll have a special TV sign-off close to him. Don't worry about what's going on next week because we got a special guest and a really neat guest, too. You guys don't know about this yet. We are going to be talking about disabled hams with special needs next week. I think this is such a powerful message and thing that we can do that I'm very, very honored that we're able to do this next week. Please join us. The time for this will be again 1900 UTC. Please join us. We'll talk about how things are for working people who, have some disabilities in their lives and trying to make it work. Michael Werner, Kilo Fox 4, Bravo Alpha Golf, going to be helping us. He is the special needs liaison for the Alabama section of the ARRL, and we're honored that Michael will join us next week on the show at 1900 UTC. If you haven't get your ham radio license yet, we'd like to help you do so. Contact a big club like the American Radio Relay League. Find them at www.arrl.org. Please hit the contact us bar. They'll do the rest. They'll send you a ham radio club that's close to you. We're going to send a sign-off towards Vance's way. He is in eastern Pennsylvania, so this one comes from Philadelphia. My name's Larry. My call sign in Amateur Radio's Kilo 7 Hotel November. Thank you for watching Ham Radio Live. It's not monetized. We do it to give back and help you, wherever you may be. God bless you, and thank you to Vance Martin, and thanks to all of you. Goodbye, everybody.
Channel 3 wishes you and your family a Happy New Year. This is Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, home of KYW-TV3. Our studios are located in downtown Philadelphia on Independence Mall East at Market Street. Our transmitting facilities are located at Umbria Street near Domino Lane in Philadelphia. KYW-TV is owned and operated by Westinghouse Broadcasting Incorporated. Our programs may not be used for any purpose except exhibition at the time of the broadcast on receivers of the type ordinarily used for home reception in places where no admission, cover, or mechanical operating charges are made. And now, our national anthem.